Wednesday Night Sports Show here on the Pegasus Sports Network, along with the sports editor of the Oldham Era, Brad Stevens. I'm Mike Montgomery. Glad to have you here with us tonight. What a great week we had last week as far as football excitement out on the gridiron. Some wins, some losses, but a lot to talk about. And, of course, coming up this week, couple of big games. So a lot to talk about tonight. South Oldham, of course, with that big win over a top 10 team in Anderson County. Oldham County and North Oldham going down to defeat last week. We're going to talk about all of it and a look ahead to this coming week coming up in just a moment. This is the Wednesday Night Sports Show on the Pegasus Sports Network. A wise man once said, "The secret to happiness is comfortable shoes." Well, I don't know about that, but I do know one thing. I'm a happy man when my feet are feeling good. And that's the idea behind Happy Feet, the world's most comfortable slippers. It's like walking on pillows. Owned and operated right here in Kentucky, Happy Feet has the coolest, the warmest, the most comfortable slippers around. College basketball fans will love the UK and U of L slippers. They look just like sneakers. Animal lovers will adore Animal Feet, a line of cushy slippers that look like every animal you can think of. There's even a dinosaur for the kids. Check them all out now at www.buyhappyfeet.com. That's www.buyhappyfeet.com, and give the gift of Happy Feet. Happy Feet. It's like walking on pillows.
Sometimes the best part of a hospital stay is not having to stay at all. Sometimes all that is required is a minor procedure or a little look-see. But whether it's a few hours or just a few minutes for an outpatient CT scan, digital mammogram, rehab, or minor surgery, at Baptist Hospital Northeast, you can expect to be treated with the utmost respect, compassion, and understanding while you're here. For more information on minor procedures with a major emphasis on care, or for physician referral, visit BaptistNortheast.com or call 222-3627.
A proud sponsor of the Pegasus Sports Network is Mountjoy Chilton Medley Certified Public Accountants, the largest locally based accounting firm in Kentucky and southern Indiana, offering a full range of accounting, audit, tax planning, and advisory services for businesses and individuals. Employing nearly 120 CPAs, Mountjoy Chilton Medley provides highly specialized services that can help you achieve your personal and business goals. For a complete list of services and more, on the web at mcpa.com. Mountjoy Chilton and Medley, 502-749-1900.
Hey, back here, Pegasus Sports Network's Wednesday Night Sports Show. Brad Stevens, Mike Montgomery here with you. And like we said, a big week last week for Oldham County schools. Tough night for Oldham County on the road against a top 10 opponent in Franklin County. North Oldham also going down a tough night for the Mustangs. But let's start off with our featured game from last week, South Oldham. And Brad, this was a big game for the Dragons. A long losing streak against an Anderson County squad that came in ranked 5th in the state.
It really was. You know, the Anderson County and South Oldham have played a lot in previous years, and South has always managed to come out on the losing end just through various means, kind of some heartbreaking losses. But, you know, Friday they really pulled through. They had a shootout at a type of game, and then they won with a big defensive play, so it was an exciting win.
Yeah, and what a big defensive play. There wasn't many of those through the first 3 quarters of this when these two teams just kept lighting up the scoreboard. It seemed like South several times was going to take command of the game, but the Bearcats would come right back with an offensive drive of their own.
Yeah, Anderson was very resilient. Their quarterback, Carmichael, really impressed me. Made a lot of throws and made some runs of his own, and they had some good skill players that also made some plays. And South had trouble stopping them there for a while until the very end.
The ball game started off well for South Oldham, and let's go ahead and go over to the highlights here. See some of the big plays from Friday night's game. This is going to be the first score of the game here. South Oldham driving, pitch back to Adam Clark. Hasn't been used quite as much in the running game, but finds himself with one man to beat, bowls him over to get the Dragons up.
You look at Kevin Kerger, all the stuff he does on the ground running the ball, but he got a huge block on that play. The first block, and what could have been a 2-yard gain turned into I think about a 20-yard touchdown run for Adam.
That was exactly at 7:39 to go. How about this for a replay? Next drive, pitch, same man, number 6, Adam Clark, same corner, same result.
And that's Star Thompson down there getting some big blocks too, really paving the way for Adam to go get that touchdown.
Anderson County responded. Carmichael, the talented quarterback, finds his receiver, Curry, down the right. So that was Puckett, actually, I think, there. We wrote down Curry, but I think it was Puckett down the sideline for a 57-yard catch and run, 14-7.
Yeah, so some missed tackles in that play, and then that was a problem a little bit for South on Friday night. Was some missed tackles that led to some big Bearcat plays.
Dragons responded, went back up 21-7. Look at this, Kevin Curriger. Who says fullbacks are slow?
He has some wheels for sure. A great burst too. Found that hole in the line, went right through it, and his offensive line made some nice blocks to give him that hole.
64 yards, 21-7 South after 1. But Anderson County coming back behind the wishbone attack. They're going to hand off into the line there. Labhart with the first of a couple of touchdown runs for him. That's just a sophomore.
Yeah, no, he was really good. I thought he was their best running back there, and I get some tough yards between the tackles.
Dragons would respond, go back up by 2 scores. Star Thompson bouncing off defenders finds his way in.
That's just the kind of athleticism Star has. A tough football player to make that to make that first guy miss and then get there, knows where the pylon is and gets to it.
It's the sophomore, Anderson County, again out of the wishbone. They'll give it to Labhart. Finds a little running room on the left side of the line and outraces everybody in green to the end zone.
Yeah, once again, a little bit of a defensive breakdown for South. But like you said, Labhart was a really impressive running back. I love watching him run between the tackles.
Anderson County with one of their wide receivers, number 1. This is Russell, lined up. Braden Russell in the backfield. They'll give it to him. Takes it around the right side into the end zone.
Yeah, another one there, and this is, when Anderson had all the momentum on their side coming back, and South responded.
That was early third quarter. Anderson County tying it up at 28, but the Dragons on the very next possession, number 29, the fullback, Curriger.
I'm not sure exactly. I think he ran for maybe 50 yards, 57 yards, I want to say, on that next drive, which, after you give up the lead, you just go straight to Curriger, and he just, takes care of it.
And here was the big play of the night, I thought, offensively. Michael McGee weaving his way 83 yards. This is what an option quarterback can do.
I think all the players were joking after the game, talking to Tyler Covington, one of the linemen, said didn't know that Michael had those kind of wheels. No, I don't think I did either. What a run by Michael.
42-28. The lead back up to 2 scores, 1:42 to go, third period. Anderson would score early in the fourth. Pass, Carmichael to Puckett in the end zone, 42-36 after the botched extra point turned into a 2-point conversion. South would respond. Cook with a 30-yard field goal, 9-point lead. But Anderson right back on the board, and this game was just a 2-pointer, 45-43.
Yeah, final 2 minutes here, and Connor John makes the play.
Well, they needed a defensive play. Anderson down by 2, could have scored and taken the lead, but number 5, that's why he's all metro area.
Absolutely. Just a heck of a player. Obviously, we talk about what he does in the run game, making tackles and getting those receivers coming across the middle, but made a great play there. Coach Reed said earlier in the game, Coach Lightfoot, the defensive coordinator, had called for Connor to kind of go on a blitz, and they threw where he just came from. And that time they had him drop back in coverage, and the quarterback never saw him. And Connor rose to the moment there, not only made the catch, but took it to the house.
Interestingly, no turnovers until the fourth period. South Oldham had actually fumbled the ball just prior to that, and things weren't looking really good. It was interesting. The mood in the stands wasn't really good. South had been up by 2 points, 45-43, had the ball at the 2-yard line, and it looked like it was just a bad snap or a bad exchange between the center and the quarterback. They turn it over, and even though the Bearcats were 98 yards away from pay dirt, the mood really wasn't good in the stands.
It was almost sort of that here we go again feel, because a couple years ago South had a big lead against Anderson County and let it slip away in the final minutes, and last year was a little bit of the same situation. So whenever Anderson County is suddenly down 2 with the ball, 2.5 minutes left, and then they convert a third down, start getting a little bit of a drive together, you're thinking, oh man, this is where it falls apart. And that's Like you said, that's where the defense really had to make a stop, and they make good plays on first and second down. Play that maybe went unnoticed. Keenan John, the cornerback, there's a third down pass to Russell out there on the sideline. Keenan John went over, made a nice play to break up the ball and force that fourth down, and that's where Connor John went and took over with the pick six.
Yeah, and not only did they get the interception, but they did get the defensive touchdown out of it. Connor John, as I said, picked by the Courier-Journal prior to the season as an all-Metro Louisville player at linebacker. And, the studs come up with the ways to make those kinds of plays at the big moments of the ballgame.
Yeah, and Connor made lots of big plays on Friday. On a night where South's defense maybe didn't have its best game of the year, Connor, I think, had 15 tackles, a couple for a loss. Obviously, had the huge interception return touchdown, and he's been used on offense this year. Scored a few touchdowns. Just really, he's a senior that rises to the moment, and that's what they needed on Friday.
Not a bad night from Michael McGee either at quarterback. 8 out of 11 passing, 169 yards, and of course, the pretty nice night using his feet. Just a tick. We had him at 99 yards rushing. I'm not sure what the official South stats were, but we had him with 99 yards rushing. But how about Kevin Kurger once again over the 200-yard mark? Some differing figures. When you carry the ball that many times, different statisticians are going to be a few yards off each other. I had him with 226 yards. Either way, a powerful night for him. He had a 64-yard touchdown. He had a 4-yard touchdown. Really carried the Dragons. You mentioned that big drive right after Anderson had tied it. I think there was like 9 plays on that drive, and he carried the ball 7.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. If you're Coach Reed in South, you're thinking, okay, we had a 14-point lead. We just gave that lead up. What do we do now? And what you do is you give the ball to someone like Kevin, a senior, your bell cow, a guy that can go get 5 yards of carry and really take back over the game on the ground. And that's what they did. And Kevin has really responded. The line played a great game, really dominated Henderson County up front, and Kevin just took advantage of that.
On the passing game, a lot of different players getting involved. It was really nice to see Star Thompson getting involved in the passing game. He had 3 catches, including a really big 30-yarder. Might have gotten away with one there, but something? It was a great play regardless. He gave his team the chance. You and I talked after the game, thought that maybe that was one where he was out of bounds, but it was still a great play.
Well, tell you what, and this is nothing against high school officials, but if you're a receiver and you have a chance to go make a play like that and you're able to come down and convince the ref that you were in bounds, a lot of times they'll give you that call. I was down there. Thought maybe they might have gotten away with one there, but the Star made an athletic play to go get the ball and sold it, and Michael made a great throw to get it there, and that was a huge play in the outcome of the game.
Well, you figure the officials are going to miss a few plays both ways in any given game, and I think there's a lot to be said about coaching your players to, hey, you're on the edge of the sideline. Go make the play anyway. Don't assume the play isn't going to happen.
Well, later on in the game, there was a play where Anderson County, kind of a hook route, for a first down. It might have been on that last drive, and the ball definitely bounced in the receiver's hands, and they called it a catch. And that's something, like you said, they're not going to get every call right. Some calls can go your way, some calls can go the other way. And South did a good job of adapting to the officiating on Friday.
It was interesting. South running a lot of different people. Michael McGee with some carries, Star Thompson, Adam Clark. Boy, Adam, only 3 carries, but he made the most of them. 2 of them went for scores. But Connor John with a carry in the ball game. Ridgely with a carry, Paul Ridgely. Really nice job of mixing in different styles of runners. When you've got the variety of ball carriers the South has, you got Thompson with his speed, Michael McGee with that elusiveness, and then again Kevin Kurger with just that raw power. Makes it really tough to defend.
It does. The defense has to be really well disciplined when you have that many guys, especially when you're running that kind of offense where you never know who's going to be carrying the ball on each play. You got Kurger and up the middle, you got Clark and Thompson can do some things on the outside, and McGee, who obviously showed that he's a threat to keep the ball. I mean, that's a tough thing. The defense, linebackers in particular, had to be very well disciplined in order to stop that kind of attack.
And Kurger over 460 yards roughly on the season. I haven't seen the up-to-date stats from the high school, but somewhere in the vicinity of 460 yards this season, just 2 games old. Had 1,100 some odd yards last year, well on his way towards eclipsing that as we see some of those highlights yet again. It was a great night for football. Brad, I was really impressed by the caliber of play in the fourth quarter. This was a very humid night.
It was, the players. I think both these teams showed. I mean, obviously, you went into this game. This is a top 10 showdown. I think Anderson was ranked number 5 in 5A by, I'm pretty sure, Bluegrass Preps. And I want to say South Oldham was number 7 or 8. So I mean, this is the top 10 teams. 2 teams that are expected to have good seasons, and teams that are expected to make those type of plays in the fourth quarter. And just a very high quality game. It was a fun one to watch.
One key player did not play for South Oldham in the ballgame. Trey Mills, big number 74, had really impressed us in the first scrimmage and in the first game. Out with a shoulder dislocation. Brad, are we hearing anything new about Trey?
Well, I think it's kind of a day-to-day situation. We'll find out. Obviously, South has a lot of depth on those lines, so that's obviously you hate to lose someone like that. But they do have some other guys that can step in and maybe fill those shoes.
Any concerns about the defense that night? We sat there and talked about it up in the stands, and it's very easy to look and say the defense gave up 43 points and an awful lot of yards, but this is not a simple team that they were playing. This was a very well-coached team. Mark Peach always has his teams ready to play. And just as an example of how good they are, last year they made it all the way to the state semifinals. 2 years ago they were in the state championship game. You got to think this was just an awfully tough opponent and maybe throw away that point total. I think South's defense is a whole lot better than 43 points would suggest.
I do too. I mean, obviously, they have a really, really strong defensive line. Connor, obviously, is an excellent middle linebacker. They have some other good linebackers like Nick Bass, and then good on the back end too. So maybe this is a little bit of an aberration. Obviously, I'm sure Coach Lightfoot saw some things he'd like to fix. I'm sure they'll try to get all that corrected before Friday. Well,
one thing's for sure, you play a really good team, they'll show you the things you need to fix. Mm-hmm. South Oldham with 18 first downs in this ball game as the offense, quite a juggernaut. And the two teams, I think, John Herndon, the sports editor of the Anderson News, I think if I remember correctly, he was saying that the two teams combined for over 1,100 yards of total offense. So if you like scoring,
right.
This was a game you had to be at last week. The Dragons, though, improved to 2-0 on the season, a nice win over a top 10 team. Of course, and they're very fortunate in the sense that they came out of it no really injuries, but some gaudy stats. How about 9.4 yards per snap? That was what kind of offense we saw. We talked a lot about the South defense for the last couple of weeks, Brad, but I think they showed us that the offense is still an elite unit.
The offense is very talented. I know they had a lot to replace on that side of the ball, and you lose a quarterback like Chase Lightfoot and a receiver like Davis Culbertson and some other guys like Tycorion Williams, some of the linemen, Chris Figg. They had a lot to replace on that side of the ball, and some of those new guys have stepped in and done a very good job.
Well, I think you made it, though, a good point here a second ago. Coy Lightfoot, and not just Coy, but Jamie Brown, the head coach, and the other coaches.
Jamie Reed.
Yeah, I had to find a few things
right.
to work on. So, your team's 2-0. They're rolling along pretty good. What are you telling your team right now to improve? Because this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely, and this is a thing where you're playing a team in Oldham County this week that. Obviously, it's a rivalry game, but OC's a little down. Maybe the players think, okay, well, we just played 2 top 10 teams. We can kind of pump the brakes a little bit this week. And I'm sure, giving up 43 points and watching that tape, I'm sure that the coaching staff is making sure the defense doesn't do that. That they're, I'm sure they've been on them all week trying to correct some of those things and get them to play with some better execution on Friday.
All right, we'll talk about that matchup in a second. We're going to look at Oldham County here next. You're listening and watching the Wednesday Night Sports Show on the Pegasus Sports Network. We'll be back. A wise man once said, "The secret to happiness is comfortable shoes." Well, I don't know about that, but I do know one thing. I'm a happy man when my feet are feeling good. And that's the idea behind Happy Feet, the world's most comfortable slippers. It's like walking on pillows. Owned and operated right here in Kentucky, Happy Feet has the coolest, the warmest, the most comfortable slippers around. College basketball fans will love the UK and U of L slippers. They look just like sneakers. Animal lovers will adore Animal Feet, a line of cushy slippers that look like every animal you can think of. There's even a dinosaur for the kids. Check them all out now at www.buyhappyfeet.com. That's www.buyhappyfeet.com and give the gift of Happy Feet. Happy Feet. It's like walking on pillows.
Sometimes the best part of a hospital stay is not having to stay at all. Sometimes all that is required is a minor procedure or a little look-see. But whether it's a few hours or just a few minutes for an outpatient CT scan, digital mammogram, rehab, or minor surgery, at Baptist Hospital Northeast, you can expect to be treated with the utmost respect, compassion, and understanding while you're here. For more information on minor procedures with a major emphasis on care, or for a physician referral, visit BaptistNortheast.com or call 222-3627.
A proud sponsor of the Pegasus Sports Network is Mountjoy Chilton Medley Certified Public Accountants, the largest locally based accounting firm in Kentucky and southern Indiana, offering a full range of accounting, audit, tax planning, and advisory services for businesses and individuals. Employing nearly 120 CPAs, Mountjoy Chilton Medley provides highly specialized services that can help you achieve your personal and business goals. For a complete list of services and more, on the web at mcpa.com. Mountjoy Chilton and Medley, 502-749-1900.
Back here on the Wednesday Night Sports Show, I'm Mike Montgomery, along with the sports editor of the Oldham Era, Brad Stevens. Glad to have you back. Oldham County, tough night last Friday night. Oldham County has started off with an awfully tough schedule here, and it continued. In fact, it might have been even tougher Friday than the two previous weeks as they went up to Frankfort to tangle with number 5 Franklin County. The Flyers, one of the most explosive offenses in the state of Kentucky, and they kind of unloaded on Oldham County 49-7 in a ball game where the Colonels probably a little bit overmatched, but it didn't help that they suffered some injuries in the ballgame as well.
They did. Jason Henry, starting running back, injured his foot during the game and was out. And obviously, the running game was kind of a struggle to get going here in the early part of the season. When you lose your starting running back, that's not going to contribute. Coach Schatzer said that Jacob Brown wasn't available also because of injury. So it's just kind of one of those things where the stuff can start rolling for a team when they're down a little bit, and now they're having to deal with some injuries.
Oldham County struggling here early in the season, just 33 points in 3 games, so just averaging 11 points a game. Some of this is to be expected. You got a brand new scheme, brand new coach in. That they're running plays that are dramatically different than what they did the last couple of years. But some of this right now is the fact that they're playing some superior teams with very good talent. And quite honestly, that is a real challenge for Oldham this year. I kind of think about if I'm a rebuilding team in the SEC. Well, it's kind of tough when you got to play Alabama, South Carolina, Auburn, Georgia, LSU. These are your back-to-back types of games. Oldham may not quite be seeing that caliber, but this season Oldham County has or will play 4 teams that are currently ranked in the top 10 and 2 teams that are also receiving votes in the various different polls. So that's a pretty tough challenge.
It really is. That's a tough road to hoe, and you have a first-year coach, and you're trying to build some momentum with the program, but you're saddled with a schedule that includes, your 2 county rivals are kind of in good stages right now. Franklin County, that's a tough matchup for anyone in the state, a much less a rebuilding team. And then, some other schools like Bullitt East and Ballard on the schedule who are strongest schools. So, it's really, I think one thing Coach Schatzer's talked about when I have my conversation with him is that the morale of the team he still likes. He still likes the kids are working hard in practice. They still believe they're not abandoning ship or anything like that. That they understand it's a rebuilding job, and they understand that they got to build a foundation right now. But yeah, it's a tough way to start your first year as a head coach.
Well, and you look at it here, Iroquois is 3-0 on the season, and Iroquois has not historically been a top tier team. And true, the 3 teams that Iroquois has beaten haven't won a game yet, but they've won all 3 games on the road, and they've outscored their opponents by over 65 points. So they've done the job, and they've done the job well. They're in the also receiving votes category. North Oldham also receiving votes in the 4A poll, and of course they have the emotional attachment of being a county rival. Top 10 teams on the Colonel's schedule: Franklin County, Bullitt East, South Oldham, and Ballard, all ranked in the top 10. We talked about it last week, though. If some teams have their schedule backloaded with the tough teams, Oldham a little more front-loaded. Eastern, who is just 1-2 and is struggling mightily here to start the year, is more towards the end of the season. And J-Town, which has yet to win a game, is the final game of the season. Oldham County is going to have some opportunities as we get deeper into the year.
Yeah, they will. North Bullitt here in a few weeks is a game that the Colonels should fare well in. Can definitely go get a win. So it's one of those things, like Coach Schatz has been preaching. They have to stay the course, have to keep getting better, have to keep maybe trying to find some right combinations, whether it be on the offensive line or on defense, and really try to make this thing work. Because if they can get clicking, there's some winnable games there near the end of the schedule.
Oldham County facing South Oldham this week in Buckner at Bell Field, and that'll be the game right here on the Pegasus Sports Network. We'll go on the air at 7 o'clock. Let's talk a little bit about the matchup here, Brad, and I think the big matchup for Oldham County is going to be the defense. You're giving up 40 points a game, admittedly against some very good competition, but you're giving up 40 points a game. You're playing a South Oldham team coming in averaging 42.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. Obviously, South is very explosive offensively, and Oldham County, they have some great players outside the ball. I mean, Brian Barmonchi, I think, is an excellent linebacker. Alex McIntosh, Spencer Johnson, they have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. It's just kind of, we've been talking about offensively, they're putting a new system. Defensively, they also are too. So it's one of those things where they're really going to have to be disciplined, make plays on Friday. I guess obviously up front, linebackers and DBs. They're all going to be tested against the South Oldham team that has success throwing and running the ball.
Well, linebackers, I think you're right. McIntosh and Barmonji going to be critical in this one. And for the linebackers, reading the play is going to be huge. This is a South Oldham running game that will go outside with Clark and Thompson. Of course, Thompson with that incredible speed. They'll run between the tackles with Curriger. And then sometimes, as we saw in the video highlights there of the South Oldham game against Anderson County, sometimes Michael McGee will keep it and just take off to the races. So reading the play, seeing the ball, finding the ball, going to be very critical for these Oldham County linebackers.
Really is. They have to stay disciplined. Obviously, you look at Michael McGee and what he can do. I mean, he's an excellent passer, but like we saw against Anderson County, he outran the entire defense on a quarterback keeper. So, preventing those kind of big plays, I think. Obviously, if you give up a 12-yard run to Kevin or maybe a 20-yard toss play every now and then, it's not a huge deal as long as you contain it, because where South can really hurt teams is once they break out in those big plays, like the big run by Michael the other night, some of those big passes that Michael made, the long run by Kevin. If Oldham County can prevent those kind of big plays, then they can really stay in the game at least.
Yeah, and it's going to be the interior of that defensive line that's also going to be critical for OC. Ian Fullerton's had a nice year to date for the Colonels, but Jacob Brown, we understand, may be out. He's knocked up a little bit with a bit of an injury.
Yeah, Coach Schatzer, talked about the injury bug kind of affecting the team, which, like we talked about earlier, it's like the team, you're trying to keep the morale up with losses on the field, and now you're having to deal with some injury issues. So opportunity, and I know Coach Schatzer's talking about wanting to build the program with some of these younger kids, guys going to be around here in a couple of years, so some of those guys may get the chance to play in a big county game on Friday night.
Now, do you look for much of a change with OC, either offensively or defensively on Friday night? Obviously you're going into this game like the Franklin County game as a heavy underdog. Mm-hmm. Do you see Mike? Mike's kind of new to you and me as well as everybody else. Right. I'm just curious: are we going to see some new tricks from Oldham County Friday?
I guess we'll find out. I imagine they'll try to throw the ball a little bit. Obviously, if there's something on the Oldham County offense you can point to and be impressed by, that's James Harding's arm. He's got a great arm. Obviously, there's been problems with some protection, and the protection problems that can lead to turnovers in some of their earlier losses. But if they can protect him, and obviously they have some good receivers, the Axtell and Farrow and some of those other guys on the outside. If they can protect him and he can get the ball out, then I look for them to try to make some ground in the passing game.
Oldham County going up against South Oldham has dominated the series. They've won 11 of the last 17, but South Oldham has won the last 3. I haven't been able to research it all the way yet. I will make sure and know this by our broadcast Friday night, but I don't think South Oldham has ever beaten Oldham County 4 years in a row.
And what an accomplishment that would be. I know that Coach Reed, when he got here in 2010, they had been on the losing end of this series for a long time, and to reverse the trend like that in a couple years. Obviously, the Colonels have had a few years they've been a little bit down, but to so wholly reverse that trend, that's pretty impressive for South.
Yeah, when Jamie arrived on the scene, Oldham had won 10 of 13. They made it 11 of 14 with a win over Jamie Reed's first South Oldham team. But Reed and the Dragons have had the last laugh the last 3 years. And like I said, I don't think South has ever won 4 straight in this series. I'm going to double check, but I went all the way back to 1998, and in those last 17, Oldham with the advantage, but South cutting into it here. As you look at that game, obviously Oldham County with the injury to Jason Henry at running back, you're going to see kind of a committee fill in there in the backfield.
That's what Coach was saying. Sophomore Tommy Grogan, kind of a guy with some speed. I'd like to get him some carries. Parker Hennings, we've seen him return some kicks and get a little bit of reps on offense, so we'll probably see him. Jarrett Baker's another guy I could figure in. So there'll be some different guys that have opportunities to carry it, but obviously a lot of it's going to come down where the offensive line can protect because – as you know, you can have the best running back in the world, but if he doesn't have the holes to run through and doesn't have good blocking, then can't really do a lot. And that's been their problem a lot the first few weeks. Is it's hard to really blame Jason Henry, who was getting most of the carries. It's hard to blame him for a lot of the problems because they don't have a lot of room to run. So that's something the offense will have to do on Friday is make some of those lanes.
Yeah, Tommy Grogan, he's certainly got the pedigree to run well. His 3 older sisters all were star runners on the Oldham County cross-country team. All 3 of them went to college on running scholarships. So Tommy Grogan certainly has that running pedigree. We'll see if he can put it to use on Friday night. Oldham County and South Oldham right here on the Pegasus Sports Network. We'll go on the air with that at 7 o'clock on Friday night. Kickoff will be at 7:30. We're going to take a quick timeout, but before we do, want to remind you about the coffee news. I know you've seen these things. Their little one-page brown newspaper. They're at restaurants throughout Oldham County. You found them at Beef O'Brady's in LaGrange, El Tarasco in Crestwood. I was in Taco Bell tonight in Crestwood. They have them there. Pretty much if you're sitting down eating somewhere in Oldham County, there's a little stand right nearby that has the coffee news. Coffee news, little one-page paper. It's got stories. It's got jokes. It's got horoscopes, which Scott Jaggers really likes. But of course, it also has all these neat little advertisements up and down the sides, which are local businesses reaching out to local people sitting down in local restaurants reading this. So if you want to reach out, you want to be part of the local community, give my good friend David a call, 797-7828. And we want to thank David because up here in the upper right-hand corner of the Coffee News is the Pegasus Sports Network schedule. So if you ever need to find out what the next game is on Pegasus Sports, right here in the Coffee News. We'll be back. Wednesday Night Sports Show continues after this. A wise man once said, "The secret to happiness is comfortable shoes." Well, I don't know about that, but I do know one thing. I'm a happy man when my feet are feeling good. And that's the idea behind Happy Feet, the world's most comfortable slippers. It's like walking on pillows. Owned and operated right here in Kentucky, Happy Feet has the coolest, the warmest, the most comfortable slippers around. College basketball fans will love the UK and U of L slippers. They look just like sneakers. Animal lovers will adore Animal Feet, a line of cushy slippers that look like every animal you can think of. There's even a dinosaur for the kids. Check them all out now at www.buyhappyfeet.com. That's www.buyhappyfeet.com and give the gift of Happy Feet. Happy Feet. It's like walking on pillows.
Sometimes the best part of a hospital stay is not having to stay at all. Sometimes all that is required is a minor procedure or a little look-see. But whether it's a few hours or just a few minutes for an outpatient CT scan, digital mammogram, rehab, or minor surgery, at Baptist Hospital Northeast, you can expect to be treated with the utmost respect, compassion, and understanding while you're here. For more information on minor procedures with a major emphasis on care, or for physician referral, visit BaptistNortheast.com or call 222-3627.
A proud sponsor of the Pegasus Sports Network is Mountjoy Chilton Medley Certified Public Accountants, the largest locally based accounting firm in Kentucky and southern Indiana, offering a full range of accounting, audit, tax planning, and advisory services for businesses and individuals. Employing nearly 120 CPAs, Mountjoy Chilton Medley provides highly specialized services that can help you achieve your personal and business goals. For a complete list of services and more, on the web at mcpa.com. Mountjoy Chilton and Medley, 502-749-1900.
Pegasus Sports Network Wednesday night sports show continues. Brad Stevens, Mike Montgomery here with you on a Wednesday night. Glad you're here with us. It's a football season rumbles along, and for the North Oldham Mustangs, a tough game last week at Christian Academy. That's kind of turned into one of the better rivalries on the North Oldham schedule. I mean, they got Oldham County, they got South Oldham, they've got their district rivals, especially Collins, but Christian Academy is a team they've played over and over and over again. Actually, the very first team North Oldham played back in 2003 when they opened. But this last Friday, if we hadn't been doing the South Oldham game, it would have been nice to have been in Louisville.
Yeah, it was an exciting game. Like you were saying, all three teams last week, obviously Oldham was playing a top 10 team in Franklin, South was playing a top 10 team in Anderson, and then North playing Christian Academy. I think they were ranked number 6 in Class 2A, and that's a team that thinks they can contend for a Class 2A title. So it was a great early season test for North. Obviously, didn't come out the way they wanted to. Seemed like it was a tough loss. Obviously, you and I weren't there, but just hearing about it from different avenues seemed like a game that North thought they could have won, and then maybe let get away there at the end.
Arian Beasley, another big game for the North Oldham senior. May well be the best pure football athlete in the county this year. 151 yards on 9 carries, 2 touchdowns, also caught a couple of passes. This is a young man who has been hampered by a bit of a hamstring pull this year. Sure doesn't seem to be slowing him down.
No, I think one of the issues with him, and talking to Coach Martin, is maybe he doesn't have the level of conditioning from fall camp because he's a little bit dinged up. So they're having to kind of build that back, kind of piece by piece. But obviously, when he does touch the ball, it's incredible. Broke up runs of an 80-yard touchdown run and maybe a 62-yard touchdown run the other night. So you never know. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's a threat to take it to the house every time. And that's what makes him such a dangerous football player.
Back and forth game all night for the Mustangs and the Centurions. North Oldham with a big defensive touchdown, like South Oldham, scoring on an interception return. Cole Emery, a 54-yard return for a score. And, late in that ball game, it looked like North was going to be kind of like a stretch running horse, Brad. Just able to poke their nose out in front late in the game. Took a 21-17 fourth quarter lead, just couldn't hold on.
Yeah, they were up 21-17, and talking to Billy about the game, talked about the last drive. The one, Cal drove down the field, scored the winning touchdown with about 4 minutes left, and on that drive there was a 15-yard pass interference call on North that maybe could have gone either way, and there was a face mask on North that also didn't help. So, it's one of the things when you go on the road, you got to deal with the officiating sometime, and you talk about 2 15-yard penalties in a crucial stage of the game. That's the kind of thing that can really cost you. That's the kind of thing you got to watch out for.
Well, some good things for North to work from in that ball game. The record gets evened at 1-1, but last year, North Oldham fans may remember that this same Cal team came into Goshen and beat up North Oldham 19-0. Defensively, absolutely shut down one of the most powerful running games in North Central Kentucky. Not so this year, as North Oldham rushed for over 200 yards, officially 203 yards. Arian Beasley with the big game. Chris Webb also with a nice night, 51 carries on only 51 yards on only 10. Boy, they used him a lot.
That'd be impressive,
51
right?
yards on 10 carries. So they moved the ball this time, put 3 touchdowns up on the board. I tell you, Stephon LaFors, the ex-U of L quarterback, has done a remarkable job at Cal.
That's a strong program. Obviously, being a 2A program, they don't have a huge student base to draw from. It's a private school, not as easy to go out in the hallways and just recruit all sorts of guys to come out and play for the football team. So for them to be top 10 in Class 2A and for them to be able to compete toe-to-toe with a school like North, or obviously a couple weeks ago they went and beat the brakes off Eastern pretty bad, beat Lexington Christian their first game. So Cal's team to look out for from the area when it comes to that state title race.
North Oldham falling to 1-1 with the loss. They'll bounce back and go on the road. This is this was the first game of a 4-game road trip for North Oldham. So we're going to find out how strong the Mustangs are here a little bit as they go on the road to North Bullitt this week to play the Eagles, also 1-1 on the year. Then on the road to Crestwood for South Oldham and Spencer County in back-to-back weeks. South Oldham, we just got through talking about a top 10 team in Class 5A. Spencer County County, though, Brad, maybe the best team you haven't really talked about, because this is a team that Billy says may be the favorite to win the district.
Yeah, he's talked about how improved they are. Obviously, it's a program that hasn't had a ton of success over recent years, but kind of making some small gains. They played North pretty well last year, and it's a district where it's probably gonna be a 3-team race between Collins, who's a step back after last year, North, who thinks they have a really good shot to win that district and go past that, and then Spencer County, who's kind of the dark horse in that race. So going at Spencer County for that first district game, that'll be a really, really interesting test that we're all looking forward to.
Well, I tell you got to remember, Collins last year won Class 4A. They won the state title, and the team all season that played them the closest, Spencer County, lost to the Collins Titans by just 1 touchdown last year. Unlike Collins, which graduated so much of their talent, Spencer County returns most of theirs. North Oldham has to go on the road to play that game to wrap up that 4-game road trip. But the Mustangs are going to have to play the next couple of weeks maybe without starting quarterback Taylor Heckenberg. That changes some things a little bit in North Oldham. Heckenberg looked really good throwing the ball against Oldham County, but Bryce Webb looks like the guy's going to have to step up.
Yeah, Bryce Webb is the guy that got the reps for North the other night. Taylor Heckenberg, second quarter, got hit, separated his right shoulder, which obviously is throwing shoulder. So that's a really tough loss for North. I hate that for Taylor, too. Obviously a senior, a great kid who had a really good game against Oldham a couple weeks ago. And, we talked, like we were joking about last week, North seems like they always have the running game and just kind of doesn't really do much in the passing game. But a couple weeks ago, they really were. They were moving the ball through the air, and this maybe takes a little bit of hit to that. But Coach Martin's confident in Bryce. He's a younger guy, so maybe the experience isn't there. So that's something they'll have to overcome a little bit. Also mentioned that T.C. Faulkner is another youngster that could get some reps at quarterback. So probably be one of those two. Maybe rotation type deal going on Friday, but definitely something to overcome and losing a seasoned veteran like Taylor.
I'm beginning to think we're talking about one of my old baseball teams. Bryce Webb was my ace pitcher on a team that I had one time, and TC helped me win a championship with a Little League baseball team once. Both great kids. Faulkner, probably the more mobile kid. If they need some mobility from the quarterback, they're probably going to look at him. But I think Bryce Webb is the clear starter for the moment. Faulkner, a year younger. Webb, big, tall kid, good, strong arm. The experience factor is going to be the biggest question. Does not have the kind of experience that Heckenberg did. This was his first test on the varsity level. Completed 2 out of 6 passes against Christian Academy. But if I'm a quarterback and I don't have a whole lot of varsity experience and I need to learn, this is probably the offense to ease the quarterback in, because a very powerful running game. And you got to think North goes into the game against North Bullitt as a favorite in that ball game. You got to think that, at least I think, that their offensive line should be able to assert their will in that ball game.
I would think so. Obviously, North Bullitt has some good players. The quarterback, Logan James is his name. He is the leading rusher and leading passer. So they have some athletes. Have a kid on defense that's made a few interceptions this year. But for the most part, North Oldham is probably the better team. And this is a game where obviously not a guaranteed win for North Oldham, but it's one where the Mustangs can maybe rack up some yards and get area and some good touches on the outside, maybe kind of ease Bryce into the offense a little bit by handing the ball off and making some headway in the running game. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think the timing of the game is something that he's going to have to just get used to. You hear word about college players going into the NFL, and the one thing they always say that is the big difference is the speed. Quarterbacks can't run away from that defensive lineman, because unlike in college where the defensive linemen were big, fat, and slow, now the NFL linemen are guys who can run you down from behind. So the speed of the game is much different, and the same thing is true when you go up from freshman to JV to varsity. That's something he's going to have to get acclimated with, and a powerful running game will give him that opportunity to ease into it.
Absolutely. They're not going to ask Bryce to go out there and make 20 to 25 passing attempts. They're going to ask him to manage the running game, make the right handoffs, make the right pitches, play well in the option game, and then make the necessary throws. Obviously, they'll have to throw the ball a little bit, and they have some seasoned receivers. Matt Clark will probably play a big role in the offense. Him being a veteran, maybe hit him on some slant routes, some curls, kind of some intermediate routes to get Bryce acclimated, before they start throwing some deep balls. So I'll look for, obviously, Billy's a veteran at this, and the offensive coaches have been around a long time. They know how to make a quarterback feel comfortable without just throwing him out there and putting all the pressure on him. So I'm sure they'll have a nice game plan developed for him to go out there and succeed.
Yeah, and this has got to be a big laboratory for Bryce because the two toughest games on the North Oldham schedule are the 2 weeks immediately following this North Bullitt game. You got to play South Oldham. You got to play Spencer County. South Oldham really important for bragging rights. Let's face it, folks. Of all three schools in the county, the biggest rivalry is North versus South. So there's going to be a lot at stake in terms of bragging rights. Spencer County is how you start off your district. Unfortunate for North because of the injury at quarterback, but the fact is they're probably going to face their toughest opponent for their district right off the bat. So those are going to be two big games. That means this game becomes a laboratory for Bryce Webb. He's got to gain enough out of this game, not to just win the game against the Eagles, but to develop in fast forward time for the South Oldham and the Spencer games.
Yeah, absolutely. This is you want to get his feet wet. Have him come out and have a nice game against North Bullitt. Have a confidence building game because, like you said, South, we've talked about how talented they are, and Spencer talked about how improved they are. So you want your quarterback to go into those games with a level of experience, a level of confidence, and feel like he's ready to go take on those challenges.
Another nice thing for Bryce is going to be that wideout out there. I'm going to tell you something, Matt Clark looking very good for North Oldham this year. I teased Billy about it, what? You've got a wide receiver who's being recruited? But that's just part of the joke that we've been teasing Billy Martin about over the years. The fact is North Oldham has quite a talented wide receiver. Matt Clark continues to look good. He looked very good against Oldham County. He's going to be the safety valve for that backup quarterback as he gets his feet wet.
Absolutely, yeah. The best friend for a new quarterback is a receiver that can go up and make some catches, sure-handed. Not going to drop balls, because that's a huge confidence score for a quarterback to come in and throw a nice pass and have a drop, and obviously and then it becomes 2nd and 10, then you have to make a play. So I'll look for Matt to be heavily involved when they do throw the ball, and I expect him to come through and make some nice catches for the team.
Yeah, important for North this week as they ease in the new quarterback, try to get those 3rd and shorts. That makes that young guy a lot more comfortable. North Oldham with the loss this week, 24-21 to Cal, but they bounce back this coming week on the road at North Bullitt High School. That game will kick off at 7:30. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk about, take a quick look at things to come, including the Rumble in the Jungle up in Goshen, Kentucky, cross country, right here on the Pegasus Sports Network. A wise man once said, "The secret to happiness is comfortable shoes." Well, I don't know about that, but I do know one thing. I'm a happy man when my feet are feeling good. And that's the idea behind Happy Feet, the world's most comfortable slippers. It's like walking on pillows. Owned and operated right here in Kentucky, Happy Feet has the coolest, the warmest, the most comfortable slippers around. College basketball fans will love the UK and U of L slippers. They look just like sneakers. Animal lovers will adore Animal Feet, a line of cushy slippers that look like every animal you can think of. There's even a dinosaur for the kids. Check them all out now at www.buyhappyfeet.com. That's www.buyhappyfeet.com, and give the gift of Happy Feet. Happy Feet. It's like walking on pillows.
Sometimes the best part of a hospital stay is not having to stay at all. Sometimes all that is required is a minor procedure or a little look-see. But whether it's a few hours or just a few minutes for an outpatient CT scan, digital mammogram, rehab, or minor surgery, at Baptist Hospital Northeast, you can expect to be treated with the utmost respect, compassion, and understanding while you're here. For more information on minor procedures with a major emphasis on care, or for physician referral, visit BaptistNortheast.com or call 222-3627.
A proud sponsor of the Pegasus Sports Network is Mountjoy Chilton Medley Certified Public Accountants, the largest locally based accounting firm in Kentucky and southern Indiana, offering a full range of accounting, audit, tax planning, and advisory services for businesses and individuals. Employing nearly 120 CPAs, Mountjoy Chilton Medley provides highly specialized services that can help you achieve your personal and business goals. For a complete list of services and more, on the web at mcpa.com. Mountjoy Chilton and Medley, 502-749-1900.
Back for the final segment of the Wednesday Night Sports Show. I'm Mike Montgomery along with Brad Stevens of the Oldham Era. And, hey, this week we've got some big football games. Kind of tick them off here, South Oldham and Oldham County. That one will be right here on the Pegasus Sports Network Friday at 7 o'clock. North Oldham on the road against North Bullitt. Kind of glad we're not calling that North. I might, I get confused. But we also have another sport going on this week, and Pegasus Sports is going to cover it. It'll be our first ever broadcast of a cross-country meet. Now, we're not going to broadcast it live, but it's the Rumble in the Jungle from Goshen, Kentucky. It's run at Creasy Mahan, sponsored by North Oldham High School. This is one of the biggest, most prestigious meets in the Louisville area.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It'll be cool to see not just the county teams, but some Louisville schools, some schools from across the state come and run. And, obviously I'm sure the kids will love the fact that, Pegasus is broadcast. I'm sure it'll be really cool for them, to get that kind of coverage because it's a great some great teams in the county that run cross country that a lot of times don't really get to do they deserve. So it'll be a fun meet to go out there and watch.
If you're not familiar with cross country in the county, you may not be aware that cross country has been a strength of the Oldham County schools dating back to the 1970s when there was just one school in the county. A lot of state championships in terms of individuals. Nancy Crutcher Martin, who was the head girls basketball coach at North Oldham High School, ran for Oldham County back in the 80s, was a repeat state champion for Oldham County. North Oldham on a good run right now with their boys in Class 2A. They've won the last couple of state championships. South Oldham in 3A this year is going to make a run, led by the Dowdy twins, Cole Dowdy and Tanner Dowdy. North Oldham going to try to make it 3 in a row, led by Trenton Fryman on that team. All three of those kids are juniors, by the way, not even seniors. And whereas so many sports, the seniors are by far and away the dominant players, that's not always true in cross country.
Yeah, it's interesting to see some of those younger kids, some of the ones that are ninth graders, come out there in those state meets and dominate. It's one of those things where it really is a talent that you're blessed with, but also if you put in enough hard work, it doesn't really matter how old you are. You can go out there and really impress. And watching the state meet last year, there was a few of the classes were won by underclassmen. So that's cool to see. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of talent runners, seniors, and underclassmen on Saturday.
Yeah, Oldham County recently has been very dominant in Class 3A in terms of the women's side, the girls' teams. Oldham County in a little bit of a rebuilding mode this year, boys and girls, but they will be a solid team. They just came back from their first meet, and rebuilding or no, their girls finished third in the Shelby County Invitational. So, that's just the kind of caliber that the county has. And it even goes beyond the high schools. We're talking about elementary schools, middle schools, elementary schools. Oldham County has some premier elementary school cross-country teams, the little guys.
Yeah, how cool is that to have kids that are 8, 9 years old going and competing against kids their age from across the state? And that's something that Oldham County is blessed with those kind of programs that kids can go do. It's one of the great things about living here, and being involved in sports in this community is that it expands to all ages, and for kids that age to be able to go and compete like that, it's a really cool thing for the county to have.
Well, and I tell you, the county sports fans should be really proud. And I'll tell you a little story. A few years back, my youngest son was actually running cross country for Centerfield Elementary, and prior to that year, Centerfield had 150 kids in their cross-country program, probably one of the 2 or 3 premier elementary programs in the entire state. They redistricted, and all the kids who ran wound up at other schools. Centerfield ended up with about 20 kids. Only 2 of them had ever run in their lives. They went from being the premier school in the county to being they also ran in the county, while schools like Goshen and Harmony kind of took the lead. Could not win a meet, couldn't even place in the county. Went down to Bardstown, a little meet they call the Hillbilly Run. A lot of fun, but the Oldham schools didn't tend to go down to it. Centerfield did because of a relationship between the organizers and the Centerfield coach, and so they went down there with 5 boys. And in cross country, your top 5 runners are the ones that score. So they only had 5, so all of them had to do well. They went down here against all these schools from throughout the state and won it hands down. All 5 kids finished in the top 14. that tells you just how strong this county is. Even the teams that are struggling within Oldham County tend to do well in the state. So this is going to be a lot of fun. You'll see some of the better schools in here. St. X usually brings their team, one of the best teams in the state of Kentucky. Butler frequently in town. Lots of schools. This is a big meet and a lot of fun. And we're going to broadcast our coverage of the Rumble in the Jungle on Thursday the 18th at 7 o'clock. That's Thursday, September the 18th at 7 o'clock. We might even get this guy on for an interview. I understand he's going to be there taking pictures for the Oldham era. But we'll be interviewing some of the Oldham County coaches, Oldham County, South Oldham, North Oldham. Try to get all the coaches on camera if we can. Try to interview some of the kids. We may even show a little bit of the elementary race in the afternoon. You know, the little kids whose shirts are tucked so far down into their pants that it's just not even funny. But it's a great thing to watch, and if you've never got a chance to see a cross-country meet, check it out here.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Brad, coming up in the Oldham era this week, what's up?
Well, something I think exciting for the community. City Place in LaGrange is opening up here. I know those of you that live in the LaGrange area or go downtown, you've seen the construction that's going on in the old Southern States buildings, those other places the last couple of years. That's all. It's all coming together. They're having a big concert actually Saturday night. The Philharmonic is coming in, kind of opening it up. It's a 3-building development down there. They have 2 that are kind of big sort of reception hall type areas, and they have another office building for Chamber of Commerce, tourism, commissions, and a place like that. And they're having big grand openings. So the Oldham Era will have lots of coverage of that. I won't be there personally, but our editor will be there covering it. And on the sports end, we'll have lots of county versus county games. Tomorrow night I have Oldham County versus South Oldham volleyball, which OC volleyball's off to a great start. No, South is also off to a good start. Monday, of course, Rumble of the Jungle Saturday, football Friday. Monday we have some cross-county field hockey, North Oldham, South Oldham. We'll still have that.
Where's that at?
It's at South Oldham in Crestwood.
And those usually go 7:30? About 7:30?
6 o'clock, actually.
6 o'clock, okay.
So it's a little bit earlier, which is nice, but they'll have that. And I think next night is Oldham County, South Oldham boys soccer. So it's just an exciting time across county, all sports. A lot of cross-county competition, which is always fun for the reporter to go cover.
And it's always a lot of fun also when there's some pretty good teams. Oldham County, the volleyball team, off maybe to one of the best starts they've ever had, and that's saying a lot. And the soccer teams in the county, particularly those over at North, starting off very well.
Well, in Oldham County boys soccer, Tuesday night got a huge win, beat North Oldham 3-2, and that's North is ranked number 9 going to the game, and OC is ranked number 20. So that's just kind of goes to show that the lowest ranked team in the county ranked in the top 20 in the state, and then beats one of the higher ranked teams. So it's really just an exciting time. All the boys soccer, girls soccer, volleyball, cross country, competitive teams in all these sports statewide. So it should be interesting, especially next month once some postseason play starts, to see which of those teams kind of rises up and makes some noise statewide.
Okay, once again, want to remind you, coming up here on Pegasus, Friday night, it'll be Oldham County hosting South Oldham. Pregame show goes on at 7 o'clock, kickoff at 7:30. And don't forget, if you miss the game, we archive them indefinitely right here at www.pegasussportsky.com, so you can see the game in perpetuity whenever your schedule permits. Also, airing it on cable, Insight Cable Channel 25, 7 o'clock on Saturdays, 10 o'clock Sunday through Friday. Now, they're still working through some issues, trying to get the video quality up just a little bit, but we're going to try to keep working on that and see if we can get that worked out. Again, next Thursday, the 18th, will be our coverage of Rumble in the Jungle on a delayed basis at 7 o'clock. And then we'll follow up next Friday, not this Friday, but the next Friday, another big Oldham County clash as North meets South. North Oldham Mustangs against the South Oldham Dragons at 7 o'clock. That's about a week and a half away. For my partner, Brad Stevens, I'm Mike Montgomery. This has been the Wednesday Night Sports Show. Be sure to tune in next week. Same time. We'll be here then. Bye.